The following program was paid for by Templar Real Estate. The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of the staff and management of WMTR. As always, it is advisable to consult a professional before making a major decision. It's time now for the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. Here's your host for the program, Joseph J. Zoppi.
Hello, welcome to the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. My name is Joseph J. Zoppi, a real estate investor, consumer advocate, author, and managing partner of Templar Real Estate Enterprises. You could reach us at templarcashforhouses.com. That's TEMPLAR cashforhouses.com, or call us at 973-315-7990. Again, that's 973-315-7990, and we could answer any questions you may have. You could also email us from our website. My company is a real estate investment firm. We buy houses for cash. We purchase apartment buildings. We do joint ventures with other real estate investors. We loan money for rehabs and provide transactional or gap funding. We work with individuals that want to invest with us in single-family houses up to apartment buildings. We do not speculate, and we're very protective of our money and our investors' money. I'm not a real estate agent, and we're not a brokerage, but I have individuals on staff that are agents that will sell your house through the traditional multiple listing service. This show will go over everything there is about real estate and how it's impacting real estate. We'll talk about our rehabs, some of our investments, what went well and did not go as well, and especially how we learned from it and corrected those challenges. We will talk about the economy, interest rates, and we'll discuss trends in the real estate market. Real estate is one of your biggest investments, so it's important you know as much as possible about it. I'm going to provide you with my opinion. It's only my opinion. I ask everyone to do a lot of research, whether any type of financial decision you make, and make sure that it's a balanced approach when you're looking at things. You know, I always say, when you read an article, it's usually slanted in a particular direction. So you have to get something that's opposing to try to balance it out and get a hopefully a fair assessment of really what it is, whether it's anything to do with referrals, things like that. A lot of times, you know, you might get a referral, but you got to ask some additional questions. Just because someone says, I recommend that person, doesn't mean that it's the perfect person for you. You know, ask those questions, because certain individuals might be accepting of certain things, whereas you might not. Case in point, sometimes contractors do not show up on time, or do not show up and postpone it for a day or 2 or 3 days. Maybe for that one person it might be fine, but for you it's not fine. So again, you got to ask the questions, those questions that are important to you in terms of the quality of work, their diligence, so on and so forth. And that goes for CPAs, attorneys, so on and so forth. You remember, I also state a lot of times is that if you look at individuals, there's always this bell-shaped curve. The big hump is where most people stay. That's the average. So again, are you getting someone that's average or someone that's really good or, really bad? So there's a lot of mediocrity out there, and, you have to try to get past that and try to look at those things to ensure that, you do not get that mediocrity. A lot of times for myself and for our company is that when we're dealing with clients, we're very, very flexible and accepting of what the situation is. Or on the flip side, when I have a service that is being engaged, that we're being engaged with, I'm very, very tough on that, and very, what's the word I'd say, non-forgiving. I think that's probably basically it, because I'm paying money for that service. So I expect the highest quality. And I won't stand for anything less than the highest quality. And that's what, from our organization, we're always trying to drive for better and better quality all the time and learning from those mistakes. And we do a lot of soul searching and looking at what we deliver and how we can make it better. That's what we do. We're always doing like lessons learned. So we go over when we do a rehab, when we sell a house, whether it's for our houses or a customer's houses, what can we do better? And that's what we're always about, doing things better, especially for our customers. But I hold our contractors and the individuals I work with, and any individual, to a very high standard. And I think any individual out there that's paying the money that we're paying for these services, that the standards need to be high. We had a CO done on one of our houses this week, and when the inspector came in, he says everything is very tight. It's really well done. He says, I don't see that a lot. And that's the thing. We hold our contractors up to a very, very high standard. And because of that, we're always getting compliments on our quality and what product we put out. And that's very, very important. I'd like to also say hello to one of our listeners, Paulette. Hello, Paulette. Hopefully, everything's going well on your side. One of the things that I'd like to talk about a little bit is, investing in terms of apartment buildings. Right now, the market's really hot. I've been talking about it for a while for real estate, and for multifamily and apartment type buildings, it's difficult to find a good deal. We'll go through literally about 100 to 110 deals before we find one that we want to do. And it's very cumbersome. But when we're doing it, we want to make sure that we're going to get our rate of return, and we're confident of that. And when we go into a deal, we want to make sure that we're capitalized enough. We have enough money in reserves. So I have a good friend of mine that has a 94 unit in Louisiana. So we sometimes do deals together. And one of the things we were talking about the other day is, he said, Joe, I think things are going to loosen up a little bit. And I said, yeah, I think so too. And I asked him, why do you think so? And he said, Joe, he said, well, one of my apartment buildings is 94 units, and right now 14 of those units are not paying anything. And he said, if I wasn't capitalized enough, I'd have an issue. But I am capitalized enough. And those individuals that are on tighter margins, they're going to have some challenges, and that's going to provide some deals in the future for us, holistically, for apartment investors. And I agreed with that, and I've been talking about that for a while, about these individuals that own investment properties and they're not getting the money they should because people are not paying, and there's a moratorium on evictions. So certain areas, they're not going to be paying, and as a result of that, it's going to put a big burden, and it is putting a big burden on the individual that owns the properties. A lot of these properties are with small time investors, a mom and pop that has, multifamily house, maybe two 2 or 3 family house, and if one family is not paying for a year or 6 months, that's a considerable amount of money that is not coming in. And at that point, if 1 out of 3 is not paying for a number of months, they're losing money, the owner. And this is happening throughout the country. So you're not hearing about all this, and you might hear about it sometime, but you're hearing about some of the other things that are going on between the stock market going up, between housing sales going higher, and you might hear about moratoriums, but really what the impact is. And a lot of individuals think that all landlords are rich and make lots of money, and that's not the case. There's a lot of mom and pop families out there that are trying to purchase multifamily, 2 or 3 family housing to help for their kids in the future, whether it's to pay rent, pay college, or help them pay their rent, or for their housing in the future, whatever the case may be. And one of the housing for family that we purchased last year, the individual was going to take the money and put it towards his son's and his daughter's college education. So it's things like that. I have a great worker of mine, and his dream is to have a couple multifamily houses so he could pass it on to his son. And he's just a regular guy that does painting and maintenance work. A great guy that he is just hardworking, and all he wants to do is save up and provide for his sons. It's the American dream. He's Hispanic. I think he's from Puerto Rico, I think. And all he wants is, the American dream, to buy some real estate and pass it on to his son. And, right now he's not really having too many issues with collecting. He's having some, but again, with the scenarios that are going on and the way the economy is, certain people are doing well and certain people are not doing well. And that's not always captured. Sometimes it's captured in, the media that, the 1% are doing well and everybody else is doing lousy. I'm not saying the 1% isn't doing well, but, with that being said, is there are individuals that are not doing well, and this pandemic is just putting a strain on them, and it's a real shame. And hopefully the politicians will get together and provide some additional funding. I always worry about the burden on the economy and upon the deficit because of additional money, but I think definitely it's needed at this point. Unfortunately, the sins of the past, we can't compensate for them, with the excess spending and never balancing a budget. But right now, it's very, very important that individuals do receive that money, whether it's for the airline industry or hospitality industry, so on and so forth. I think it's very, very important that that's done. So I'd like to close out this segment, and I'll be right back shortly. But again, you could always reach us at 973-315-7990 or TemplarCashForHouses.com. Thanks a lot.
Life can be a roller coaster, and sometimes you need to sell your house fast. That's why there's TemplarBuysHouses.com. Maybe you're downsizing, getting a divorce, having health or financial issues. If so, head to TemplarBuysHouses.com. TEMPLAR BuysHouses.com. TemplarBuysHouses.com will buy your house quickly and without hassle. If you've inherited a house that is vacant, contact TemplarBuysHouses.com. Dealing with them is easy and quick. No high-pressure sales tactics, and you won't have to fix up the house. They will buy your house as is. You pick the closing date and when you move out. No commissions and no hassles. Contact TemplarBuysHouses.com. TEMPLAR BuysHouses.com with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Call 973-315-7990. That's 973-315-7990.
Be sure to listen to the podcast of the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. Find it now at TemplarBuysHouses.com.
Hello, welcome back to the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. My name is Joseph J. Zoppi, Managing Partner of Templar Real Estate Enterprises. You could reach us at 973-315-7990 or TemplarCashForHouses.com. Remember, if you need to sell your house fast for cash, please give us a call. We'd be more than happy to talk to you. Also, if you want to sell through the traditional multiple listing service, we've been on a tear with those, and we've been selling a lot of those very quickly too. Again, it's pricing it right, and if we price it right, then we could potentially get into a bidding war. We did that just this week with a property in Hackensack. It was a nice property. I spoke about it previously. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. It had a study. What we did is we had our crew go in. The owner said, okay, bring your crew in. We'll build out a closet, which cost around $1,200. So it was about $700 for their workmanship, and it was another $400 for the material. And the material's just so expensive these days. There was a study that said that new construction, based on material cost increase, are raising the prices by $14,000 just on the material costs. So it's just very expensive now. But with that being said, is we had a closet built so we could convert that house from a 2-bedroom, 1-bath to a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, and then we put it up for sale, and we listed it at a good price. It wasn't very aggressive, and it wasn't really underpriced, and as a result of it, we had 2 offers on it. One was $15,000 over asking, and another one was $20,000 to $25,000 over asking. So with that being said, is they took the one that was $15,000 over asking. You might say, why? So again, we look at everything very strategically. The first group that put in the offer for $15,000 over asking was going to put 20% down, and it was going to be a conventional mortgage. The second family had 3% down and was going to be conventional. So there's a couple of things with that. We asked them that was going to put the 3% down if they could put more down, and they said no. So what's that tell you? That tells you they don't have much money. So we were worried about the appraisal, like we always are when things start going above asking. That's the first thing. Second of all is that if there's no room for them on with the down payment, then we have an issue, and we're not going to be able to go through with the transaction. So one of the things that's going to happen is traditionally you sign it, then you do inspections, and then the appraisal comes. Well, that could tie up the property for 1 month off market, and you could always accept additional bids while it's pending, but again, you're not going to be able to do anything with that. So, and a lot of people aren't going to do that and put bids in while it's in pending status and waiting to be closed. So as a result of that, you have the property off market for 30 days, And then if it doesn't go through, then it has to go back on. And a lot of times when people see the history of that, the first thing they think is, what happened with the inspection? There's a problem. And it's an older house, so everyone's going to assume that. So there's those questions that are going to be asked. Then you have to explain, well, it wasn't because of that. It was because of the appraisal, or the individuals could not get the loan. But it just adds additional problems to it. So it's better to have, a guaranteed, we'll say, which it's not guaranteed, but a family that's putting 20% down, and they're very flexible. That was really a good thing as well. So the attorney review process went really smooth. The sellers went with our attorney, and we have a close relationship with our attorney, so it was very smooth. So right now we're out of attorney review. They're ready to do inspections, and we're hoping that this is going to close in the next 30 days, and we'll put this to bed. And right now the seller is super happy, and they said, Joe, this went so smooth. We loved your team. Between the contractors and your agent and how well it was done. We came in, explained everything to them. We helped them negotiate, and it was perfect. And these are the things that I love to see, and I love seeing happy customers on our side. That's a lot to us. So, on another thing I was stating last week, we had a house that was one of our houses, and we had multiple offers on it. And it was a single family, single person, mom with 4 kids, and we were really happy that it went under contract for her. But with that being said, is that when the offers came in, we had another individual that offered about 5,000 less than asking, and we accepted that, or we said, okay, that's fine. We'd like to review it. And then this other offer came in too at full asking, or maybe a little bit above asking, and we said just full asking is fine. And we were satisfied with that. And we were going to evaluate the terms on both and see about, again, how much individuals are putting down, and we were going to see which one we felt was going to go through. So when we had the verbal offer on the one person that said 430, we got the paperwork back, and then it said 425, which is 5,000 less. So that first of all set up a lot of red flags for us. And our agent, I spoke to the agent. I says, I'm not feeling comfortable with this. I think this is a bait and switch. They said 430, and then 2 hours later they send us the contract and it's 425. And one of the things that everybody wants us to do is be honest and upfront, so on and so forth. So I expect the same. So I was I was miffed by this, to say the least. And I said, I'm not feeling very comfortable with this transaction already. They said 430. Now it's 425, and we don't hear anything why it changed. So the agent went back to them and says, what's going on? We feel it was a bait and switch. We're not happy with it. And then the agent said, well, they are serious about it. And we're not trying to pull a fast one, but, there were second thoughts about the garage and this and that. And so they discounted it $5,000. They named like 5 things. And as a result of that, we came back and said we still feel that you weren't genuine with the offer. And that night, they wrote a letter. The individuals that wanted to buy it, and they said they weren't, trying to do a bait and switch, and they're very serious about it, so on and so forth. And we looked at it, and they said they felt pressured by the environment that everyone's getting outbid, so they threw out a number and then they had second thoughts about it. And we said we would think about it. And then the agent came back and asked other questions like, is it cable ready? Can you get cable? So there was all these started becoming red flags for us because they named numerous things that were wrong with the house, and they discounted at 5,000. And then, is it cable ready, or is there cable? Can you get cable? And these are all things that I'm like, okay, we're going to have some issues. What happens when there's an inspection and there's a little thing wrong? So we were thinking about it, and we had another offer from the family with the single mom and so on and so forth. And it was just a pleasure talking to them, and we just went with the other offer. But I knew that we were going to just have lots of challenges with this family. I just knew it. So sometimes it's better to walk away from a transaction. Even if this was the only transaction, we would be very, very cautious on this. And what I would have done if I did engage with them, I would have said before attorney review is completed, I want to have an inspection done. I want them to do an inspection because I wanted to see what they were going to come back with. And I would have even said I would pay for half the inspection if it doesn't go through well and we decide to go with someone else. I would do that. I'd spend the $250. It's well worth it. Just to make sure that they weren't going to come back with a laundry list that was, 20 pages with so-called issues that they'd have. The house is an older house. It's still relatively new, but it's still an older house. We rehabbed everything in it, but you could always find issues. And those individuals found numerous issues with a brand new fence that was put in. They said it wasn't level for some area or something like that, and they had a problem with the garage door and just a bunch of things. And I was very concerned about that. So again, when you put an offer in, do not change the offer after you verbally say what the number is. Please don't do that. And, take your time putting in the offer. Remember, you have to live with that to some extent. You can't change it halfway through. That's just not a good thing to do. People look at those things, and we especially look at those things, whether it's for us or our clients, and we'll raise the red flag very quickly because in the end, time is money. And when you put an offer in and you tie up a property and then all of a sudden it goes sideways, you can't gain that time back. You just can't. So it's very, very important that you look at things very strategically and very cautiously in terms of offers, how they come in, who's giving you the offer, what are they putting up, how are they financing the loan. Is it through conventional FHA or VA? We had one that for that Hackensack house, it was gonna be a VA loan with 0% down. So again, if it didn't, the person didn't have any money, unfortunately. So was it going to go through? Yeah, I'd love to give it to a veteran. Love to. And I definitely would like to recommend to my client that, but is it going to go through? That's the question. And as a result of that, you got to be wary of this sometimes. So I'd like to thank everyone for listening this week. There's two other things I wanted to say real quickly. Is that, when we purchase plants a lot for our rehabs and for the landscaping, try to go with the local nursery. Those individuals on all the local nurseries are really good. They really know their stuff. You go to Home Depot, the prices aren't that much different. You get some really good deals at some of these local nurseries, so try to give them the business. The other thing is if you have to go to Home Depot and you're really tied up and you need to get something, and your local Home Depot is having issues getting the product, I highly, highly recommend going to the one in Union. It's called Vauxhall. Vauxhall. It's a section of Union. It's the Home Depot superstore. It's the biggest superstore in the country. And they get things very quickly because I think it's just their volume and everything. They have preferential treatment. When we had problems getting certain material, we went to them. So I highly recommend that. If you're going to go to Home Depot and you're having problems sourcing it, please go to them. So I'd like to close out. Again, this is Joseph J. Zoppi. You could reach us at 973-315-7990. Thank you very much. God bless and take care.
Life can be a roller coaster, and sometimes you need to sell your house fast. That's why there's TemplarBuysHouses.com. Maybe you're downsizing, getting a divorce, having health or financial issues. If so, head to TemplarBuysHouses.com. TemplarBuysHouses.com. TemplarBuysHouses.com will buy your house quickly and without hassle. If you've inherited a house that is vacant, contact TemplarBuysHouses.com. Dealing with them is easy and quick. No high-pressure sales tactics, and you won't have to fix up the house. They will buy your house as is. You pick the closing date and when you move out. No commissions and no hassles. Contact TemplarBuysHouses.com. TemplarBuysHouses.com. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Call 973-315-7990. That's 973-315-7990.
Be sure to listen to the podcast of the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. Find it now at TemplarBuysHouses.com.
The preceding program was paid for by Templar Real Estate. The views and opinions expressed are not necessarily those of the staff and management of WMTR. As always, it is advisable to consult a professional before making a major decision.